What's up, YouTube? First and foremost, shout out to all my subscribers. Keep running those likes up and drop comments. Alien Army 100%, let's rock with it. If this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, please drop a comment and also hit a like. If you don't know what to put in the comment, just put an alien, put an alien mothership. If you type in alien action, a little alien pops in. Love seeing that. Put a hi, put an emoji, put whatever. I do respond to 99.9% of my comments. Real quick too, shout out to all the donations. They come few and far between, but let me tell you something. They're saving my bacon when they do come through. You know what I mean? So I do appreciate everybody. If you guys actually want a personalized shout out for it, put inside the message. My Cash App is the same as my YouTube name, AlienAscend. I'll link that in the description. If you actually want me to give you a call, chop it up or whatever, put that in the message with for Cash App, and I have no problem giving you a call. Probably going to star 67 it, just so my phone number doesn't get leaked. The only thing I'm really worried about is somebody calling and waking me up, because sleeping in my car can be very difficult. Don't want to hear the phone vibrate and think it's an emergency and be woken up. You know what I mean? So got that going on. Gonna jump straight into the video. This is just double checking, making sure. I want to say the exact title that I'm going to be using, so bear with me here. Homeless, let's talk addiction. So homeless, let's talk addiction. First and foremost, no addictions here other than food, air, water, sleep. However, I grew up in the hood. By the way, if this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, I am homeless. I do live in my car. There's several times I've been homeless where I wasn't living in my car. There's other times I've been homeless where I had a different vehicle at the time. This has happened to me a few times in my life. But if you want to know the most current reason why I'm homeless, and I've been homeless like this is the longest stretch I've been. I do have a full video about that, homeless full story. I encourage you to watch that. If you do like my content, subscribe to this, and then check out my other my other videos. But yeah, to get to it, homeless, let's talk addiction, right? So growing up in the hood, and I actually park in the hood where I'm at. In the hood, truck stops, rest areas, it really doesn't matter too much, because normally rest areas actually have a car section, and I stay at rest areas sometimes, but most of the time I'm staying at truck stops because it saves me on gas. It's closer to where I work at. I do Uber Eats, and I do DoorDash, but I stay in more hood and ratchet areas for a couple reasons. One, the cops aren't going to really knock on my window and tell me to leave. A lot of other truck stops, they let the trucks, the 18-wheelers park in here, overnight parking, but inside the parking lot, no. But in hood areas, they don't really enforce it, and then also in hood areas, they really don't have those signs like that. I mean, they got signs, for employee parking, but that's about it, right? So to talk about addiction, there's a lot of forms of addiction, right? And I'm going to cover a lot of bases, so I really hope you stick with me during the whole video. Excuse me, one second, I clear my throat. That's one of the problems is living in a car. I've got this little bit of a cough. Hopefully it's not too serious. I feel like I'm okay. Just every once in a while I clear my throat, man. Normally, the island cars and trucks that that are near me, and me living in a car as well, and it's really cold out. It's actually 10 degrees right now, so I'm in the front seat as I record this. Normally lay all the way back, halfway of my body inside the trunk, and then the other half I have the seat down, and I got 2 sleeping bags, a 40 degree and a 30 degree, and then I also have 2 comforters that I throw around me. In this kind of weather, like just behind my my passenger seat right here, I could have a gallon container of water. It's gonna freeze, so I don't go back there when it's this cold. I'm in the front, so I can turn my car on right away and let the heat blow on me, and then it'll keep this section okay. I'm not trying to get hurt or get it's like I'm trying to make it. You know what I mean? So I do what I have to. Normally, if it's 25 degrees or more, or as long as it's not below 20 degrees, I'm back there. I can stretch out. It's very hard to sleep in the front seat, especially staying consistent and not waking up. But getting sidetracked a little bit. So addiction, right? Cigarettes is a big part of it. I don't smoke. I'm not into it. But I do see cigarettes being a very, very strong form of addiction, and I will get to the other stuff too. So stay with me the whole time. I'm gonna go slow all the way up. Build it up, man. It's like a roller coaster. Before you get to the bottom, you gotta slowly crank up to the top. So cigarettes, right? there's a person here. I've talked about him before. He's actually a buddy of mine. I met him. He's homeless. He was in a car as well. He's very much addicted to cigarettes. I have no idea what the price of cigarettes cost. However, if somebody, I've seen people buy in packs, and when somebody buys him a whole pack, he goes through it within one day. He normally goes around checking cigarette ashtrays here at the truck stop. He lifts like these big, looking lids off of it, and he takes the cigarette butts, and he looks to make sure that there's nothing, contaminating it. If you catch my drift. However, he doesn't cut the filter. He doesn't take the tobacco and re-roll it. Doesn't really inspect it. So, I mean, that kind of an addiction where he's willing to put his mouth where he doesn't know where somebody else has their mouth is, is not good for your health. You can get very, very sick. I have no idea if strep throat is contagious. I have no idea if mono is contagious. I think mono is contagious. I have no idea what kind of viral infections you can get from that. I have no idea what the upper respiratory system, what it will do. The common cold, the common flu, the stuff that's not common. I have no idea, but I would never want to find out. It's kind of like eating after somebody that you don't know. You don't have no idea. So if I went in a trash can and there was a bunch of food in there and half of it was eaten, it's literally like grabbing a piece of chicken that somebody already bit into, and I start biting where they bite into because he's picking up that cigarette butt and putting it in his mouth. He might as well be eating somebody else's food, and he's very territorial about that. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. There was a dude that was coming around here that was checking those ashtrays and beating him to it, and he knew that person actually had a warrant in a city next to us, and what he did was I'm gonna give this guy the nickname Roughing It. I might have talked about him before, but that's his nickname, Roughing It. And why? Because he looks flat out rough. So Roughing It, the person I've been describing, he finds out that somebody's been going around grabbing the other cigarette butts. He knows who it is, and they're smoking them and everything else. He knows that person has a warrant because the other person told him. He's like, yo, I have a warrant, and that's why I'm staying over here, blah, blah, blah. So one day he gets sick of it, and it doesn't take long. He tells the guy that's been doing it, he's like, hey, cop showed up the other day, man. They're talking about your vehicle. They want to know who's in it, man. They know about that warrant. Well, that guy just hightailed it out of there. So Roughing It came up with a really good excuse and a really good thing to shake somebody off, and no cops came looking for that guy. He straight out, flat out lied, and he did that. He told me, and I was like, dude, you do that for your cigarette butts? I try not to be judgmental about things. However, being homeless, nothing really surprises me too much, man. He told me that. I'm like, damn, man. He does look like a flat out junkie. He's not a junkie. He don't drink. He don't do Snoop Dogg activities. He don't mess with the hard stuff. He don't drink at all. Why? But if you didn't know him and you looked at him, you would think the worst. And he looks like the worst. He looks like anything and everything he gets his hands on, he will. He's a very older man. It's him and a dog. He's got a dog that's a little bit older, and I'm not in here to tell somebody else's story. I'm kind of on here to tell mine. But that dude, he's got a lot going on, and I thought when I first saw him, when I first started coming around here, and this is, I know, like I said, I've been around for a long time. I've been homeless for a long stretch at least. I went ahead and I peeped the scene out. I don't just go around the first time I park and start talking to everybody and trying to find out what the gossip is or what the tea is, so to speak. I lay low, watch stuff. There's a reason why I have one mouth, two eyes, and two ears. You know what I mean? But he looked flat out rough, and this was during the summer. And he's got his door. He lives in his car, him and his dog. He's got his doors kicked out. Flat out, throwing the white flag of surrender. I had no idea what was going on with his car, but him and his dog basically both, laying there with their tongue out, panting for air. That's what they looked like. And he looked bad, man. Really rough, man. 100%. I watched him, and I made sure that he was he wasn't dealing with the junkies. He wasn't running up on people. He wasn't tipping people off. Stuff like that. So I peeped game for a while. And when I saw that, he was just, somebody just chilling, and like people would offer him beer, people would offer him, Snoop Dogg activity and the hard stuff, and I saw him say no to all that. Then I felt comfortable, because now I'm like, man, this guy looks absolutely starving. I feel bad because his dog looks very starving as well, and looks like he could use some help. So at that time, I walked over to him, and I had a couple cans of stew, and I went over there and I was like, hey, you probably didn't notice me, but I've been here for about a week or two. You look flat out rough. And I said, I'm not trying to insult you. Would you like these cans of food? And I said it just like that. And he's like, oh yeah, that's great. And I said, how's your dog doing? And he's like, she's doing okay. She doesn't like the heat too much, but I walk around. And I asked at that time, I was like, does your car even start, man? Can you even use your air conditioner? He's like, it starts. I just need a new battery. And then I was like, what does a new battery run you? He's like, $180 for this, for this car. However, there's used batteries that would also work with it. But when he said that, his eyes like lit up, hoping that I could, because he doesn't know me. He's like, hoping that I'm charitable enough to get him a new battery. Bottom line is no, I would be charitable enough if I had it, but the God honest truth, no, I don't have it, and I can't do something like that. I got to take care of myself. I'm in a bad situation myself. I'm trying to get out of it. However, can I help a little bit with food? Does it mean that I eat a little bit less? Does that mean instead of I save $2 or $3, I can maybe help him out a little bit? Sure. I really don't hand the guy money. I've only handed him money like once. Well, not even like once. I've only ever handed him money once. It was a $5 bill, and I'm going to talk about that. So that's with this guy, right? And I might as well tell you a little bit more about him, and then I'm going to get into some more addiction stuff. Please excuse me for this cough. If I could control it, I would. I try not to get sick out here, but it's cold weather, it's winter. So with that particular dude, I had given him a little bit of food, and I'm going to talk about a story that's a little bit personal. There's a gas station not far from here, like literally maybe a half mile or less, and they have really good chicken strips, and they have potato wedges, and it's hot, and it's real cheap, and it's real good. They got like a kitchen inside this place. It's not quite a truck stop, but trucks can go in there. It's more of a gas station with a really big parking lot. I know this area halfway decent. In some areas, I thought that it'd be okay as long as it's not nighttime. So I pull in that place during daytime, and this is how he actually became a good friend. Like, so I had saw him a couple times at the truck stop. We exchanged some conversations. I get him some cans of food. I check on him every once in a while. Nothing too crazy, but I'm over at that gas station because I heard that they had really good chicken strips there, and I was just really wanting some protein, and I heard it was cheap. So cheap food that's good, that's hot, that's affordable. I thought I was with it. I also knew better to go, like I knew I'm in a bad area. I know not to go there at nighttime, but this is daytime. I show up there, and while I'm there, without getting too graphic because YouTube doesn't like this kind of stuff, I find myself in a situation where I'm dealing with two people at once, and one of them is using a screwdriver. It was a flathead screwdriver, and I'm getting whacked with it hard, man, in my back. And like I'm trying to shake one dude off, and I got this other person just jamming it into me, man, and very, very fast, and I'm just trying to defend myself. I don't give up anything if somebody runs up on me, and so that's going on, and then all of a sudden, da 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 da, it's like this might as well have been like a little movie part. Dude's dog comes bolting up and just latches on this other person, latches on it, and is doing the dog's doing his thing, dog's being great, and he's an old man, so I guess where he's parked at, I don't even see where he's parked at the time. He sicked his dog to come protect me, and it saved me, man. flat out did. You know, I was dealing with one person, and the other person's using a screwdriver as their, you know, as their tool of choice, so to speak, and I'm getting jammed up, man. And I don't quite feel the pain. I do feel the pain for a good 2 or 3 weeks after. You know, it was mostly my back and the side of me. But when that dog latched on there, that just gave me enough, and that dog was doing great, man. That dog was being, you know, being a champion. The dog's doing that stuff. You know, I was able to handle one person, now I can handle that with the dog's help, and it just gave me the break, you know, that I needed. And I have no idea what would have happened afterwards. It probably wasn't looking so good for me, to tell you the truth. However, you know, I didn't hit the ground yet. I was still, you know, throwing them and trying to do what I got to do. That happens. And afterwards, after that happened, I'm like, oh man, dude, you know, that was some solid stuff, man. You know, I understand you couldn't run over here and tell you the truth. Your dog could fight better than you can because you're an older dude and you walk very slow. You know, your sweatpants have stains in the front and stains in the back, and they look exactly like what they are. You know, he's got really bad arthritis hands. His hands don't even open and close all the way. There's a lot of health issues with this older man. However, he sicked his dog, and that was on some real stuff. So when that happened, I'm like, all right, dude, you know, if you rock with me, I'm gonna rock with you. I remember talking to a couple of friends, and I'm like, hey man, I'd like to get some, you know, like some dog food for his dog. You know, he seems to be okay most of the time. I could bring him food, you know, from time to time. I go, but what can we do for that dog? And they're like, oh, you know what, my dog isn't eating these dog canned, you know, this is one of my friends. You know, I got a bunch of dog canned food, canned dog food that my dogs aren't eating very much. You know, so I had to move them to this, and I got some dry dog food. You know, I got a 20-pound bag of that. I got, like, you know, almost like a case of these wet dog food. I'm like, yeah, you know, if you're not going to use it, I would love to pick it up and help this guy out, you know, and help him and his dog out. And, you know, I got a soft spot for dogs. This dog just saved me, man. And he's the one who gives the commands to do it. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's friendship right there, as far as I'm concerned. You know, when times get rough and somebody jumps in or helps in, you know, that really does, actions do speak louder than words on something like that, because he didn't have to do that. That dog could have really got hurt, man. He could have got hurt. You know, things could have went really bad for me, but nonetheless, that happened, and that was really cool. And very surprising. I didn't know at the time when I saw the dog doing that. I just thought it was a dog just jumping in. You know, afterwards, after, I guess you could say, the smoke settled, I see him, and I'm like, hey man, dude, you know, did your dog do that on its own accord? He's like, nah, man. I was screaming, get him. And they went for the right person. I'm like, well, thank God that your dog didn't attack me. His dog did know me a little bit. His dog didn't, excuse me, his dog didn't know the other people. Like I said, I had brought him Kansas stew, and his dog is very, very protective. Like, if you go near his car, she starts barking and going crazy. If you get close to him while his window's rolled down, then she's trying to lunge out. However, when he takes the dog out of the car and has her on a leash and, like, starts to walk her a little bit, she'll come up to you and you can pet her, you know. And it's only in the car. She's just very territorial and very protective over him and very protective over the vehicle. Like, she does not want anything going on. So, of course, he had taken her out of the car before, and I've pet her before, but it wasn't like we sealed a bond, but she didn't know me. So after that, you know, watch out for the dude. But you know, so I did want to finish that story. I wanted to throw that in there. So addictions. First thing first. If you have an addiction out here and you are homeless, you might as well almost flush yourself down the toilet. You need your wits around. You know, you need to have your wits. You probably can't. I have no experience of using it, any of that stuff. However, I do have friends, and like I said, you know, from the hood, friends and family, and then I have you know, my friends' parents that did that kind of stuff, and I saw firsthand. In fact, right now I'll get into a story where I have a friend right now that's dealing with that kind of stuff, and so I do want to touch on that subject and talk about it a little bit more. But it's your life is going to be hard enough. You don't need that. I understand that people use that stuff to escaping reality. I understand about bad childhood trauma. I have some videos about it myself. In the long run, it is only going to hurt you. You know, that stuff is so addictive that you will have to do anything and everything. I don't have to go out here and hurt anybody. I work for the little bit of money that I get. With an addiction like that, you will end up stealing from people at some point. You can and very well sell your body for this stuff. This stuff happens all the time. That beast, that monkey that can get on your back is a lot stronger than you may ever even know. And the biggest thing about that is people aren't going to let you know that you could have a monkey like that. You could have an addiction like that. You know, if everybody knew what the consequences were before they use it, I don't think they would really use it. At least that's my idea. You know, or they think that they're stronger, or they're Superman, or they started off young where they didn't know any better. I can understand that stuff, but to be out here and then choose to do it, that's wrong. You know, like what makes it wrong is I don't want to see you hurt yourself. I don't want you to make things harder for yourself. I want you to keep trying. And unfortunately, I have seen so many times where people, when they get on that, they don't try anymore. There is no try. All they do is live for it. And then they get really, really sick without it. And that sickness hurts them so bad that they're willing to go out there and do anything and everything to accomplish it. You know? And that's a really sad thing. So a recent thing that I've seen with addiction was this actually just happened a couple of days ago when I was talking about like it being -7 and I was dealing with stuff. It was -10, then -7, and then I believe it was a -4 or -2. This is just on the top of my head. So just a few days ago, honestly, it's 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm sleeping here at this truck stop that's in the hood that I stay at the most often. I do switch around. I know better to stay at one place too long. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm in my driver's seat, you know, because, you know, that's where I am when it's really cold. And a dude comes over to my window. He sounds like a younger guy. He's talking, and at the time I was running my car, so I had woke up at 4:30, and I was really, really cold. Start my car. I was going to turn it off at 5:30, so I was going to run it for an hour, turn it off, you know, heat up my car, and then I was going to go ahead and try to wake up around be ready for the day at 6:30 and try to make some money, you know, with Uber Eats and DoorDash. So came to the door, you know, and he tapped, and most people around here, you know, I have a little bit of a reputation here, you know, what I was talking about earlier, that did carry on over here, you know, that I am somebody willing to fight and protect myself and not give up. And there's other altercations that have happened as well that, you know, that doesn't mean that, you know, I'm untouchable. Anybody can be touched. It's like the wild, wild west out here. It doesn't matter if you have a rep or not. If you have a rep, maybe it helps you sometimes a little bit, you know, but people pop up and they don't care, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, people are going to do what they're going to do, you know. So nonetheless, dude comes to my car door and taps at it, and I respond not very nice. I'm not going to repeat what I said, but I respond not very nice, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm newly homeless. I know that you normally park over here. I parked there tonight, and I just don't want to step on anybody's toes." And I said, sorry about that transition. Got a little call. You know, I'll probably leave that transition in there where you can see I get a call. You know, it shows more authenticity going on. You know what I'm saying? But back to what I was saying. So, dude comes to my car door, 5 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, you know, hopefully I didn't step on anybody's toes. I know you normally park there, you know, and there's a little spill. Like first when he came to my car door, I didn't say something nice at all. I screamed something at him. I'm not going to repeat it, but I screamed something at him. And then afterwards, he's saying that, and when he's saying that stuff, I was like, he's like, "Hey man, am I good to stay here? Is everything okay?" And he sounded like a younger guy, like he sounded like he was like 24 years old. And he's like, you know, I'm new to being homeless. I felt for him a little bit, but I'm not stupid. So and he's like, you know, am I good to stay here? Am I gonna have any issues? And I was like, nah, dude, you should be fine, man. So I you know. A little bit later that day, like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, so I really had to sleep in. I had a hard time going to sleep because it was so cold. I'm checking on my buddy roughing it, and he ain't got no gas in his car. He hasn't started it for a good month, so he had no gas in his car, and his car would run. You know, of course, it's got expired tags. You know, be expired or suspend a license, something like that. His car will run. He did get a battery. He got 2 of them, one of them in summer that had bad sales, and from time to time people would chip in or hook him up a little bit on some gas, and he could run his air conditioner. In the winter, it hasn't been like that so much. He hasn't run his car in a month, but I'm gonna get to that in a little bit. So I go check on him to make sure him and his dog are okay. When I go do that, where I was parked at like the night before and the night before that is that car, and he rolls his window down as I'm walking up to roughing its car. I'm going to check to make sure both of them are okay and they're not deleted, if you catch what I'm saying. So when he rolls down his passenger window, he kind of waves, and I walk over towards it. He introduces himself. I shake his hand. I tell him, they call me Alien. I do go by that in real life. I've been going by Alien for a very long time. It's not a street name it's an alias that, I'm up to no good. No, I've just always been called Alien, and I didn't come up with that name myself. It's something that was named upon me. AlienAscend means, I am alien and we're ascending. That's the concept of it. And anybody who's subscribed, and anybody who's always dropping comments and stuff, I didn't name you guys this, but you guys came up with Alien Army, and I'm totally cool with that, man. You guys want to call yourself Alien Army? Let's rock with it. It's kind of like ICP. If you're not a fan of Insane Clown Posse, don't take this the wrong way. They never called the people who rocked with them juggalos. They called them juggalos themselves, and then they rocked with it. So if you guys want to call yourself Alien Army, I'm down with it, dude, and let's rock and roll. You know what I mean? As long as you guys are supporting me and rocking with me, I'm gonna rock with you guys too. You know what I mean? So he rolls his window down. I shake his hand, and the guy's really wiry. He's jumping around, and he's like, first thing I noticed in the passenger seat, he's got a baseball bat and he's got a machete. So I was like, "So you're newly homeless, huh?" He's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Are you from here?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am." I said, "Good. I at least see that you got a couple of weapons here." He's like, "Yeah." And I didn't see the machete right off the bat. I saw the baseball bat and he showed me the machete. And he's like, "Yeah, man, I feel so rude, man. You want to jump in the passenger seat?" And I go, "No." And he's like, "What?" I was like, "I don't get in the car with anybody, man. Are you crazy?" And he's like, "I just feel rude that I'm in my car and I want to talk to you." And and he's like, "I'm totally cool, man. You have nothing to worry about." I'm like, "It doesn't matter." I said, "I don't get in the car with anybody, no matter what, and nobody ever goes in my car." I said, "But I understand if it's too cold. Just wanted, you rolled the window down. Everything's cool." He's like, "Hey, man, I wasn't stepping on anybody's toes, was I?" And I go, "Nah, dude." And then he's like, I want to talk to you outside the car." I said, "Okay." He's like, I feel rude. So when he does that, when he starts getting close to me, I'm like, "Hey, man, I need 3 feet. I have no problem telling somebody that. I need 3 feet. Like, I do not want you close to me. One, if you're sick, I don't want to get sick. But the truth is I don't want people feeling like they're comfortable, and it makes me very uncomfortable when somebody I don't know gets close to me. I could be in a restaurant, and I don't like that there's a stranger sitting next to me, and I don't tell them I need 3 feet. I just need to find a spot where I feel comfortable sitting at. You know what I'm saying? So he gets out of his car, and we're talking. And when we're talking or whatever, he's like, he's real wiry, and I can see his eyes. He's like a kite in the sky. You know what I'm saying? And I tell him, I'm like, "Man, you use crystal methods? Bear with me and try to stay on the topic. What do you think that might mean? Crystal methods." So, and he's like, "No, do you?" And I go, "Absolutely not, but I can tell that you are." And he's like, yeah, I'm homeless because I was partying too much, and it's mostly and he tries to say it was Snoop Dogg activities, and I go, "Hey, man, you need to have at this time, I know his voice sounded 25 years old, 24 or 25 years old when he's talking to me. Now this guy's in his late 30s, and he looks like a substitute teacher. Is what he looks like. He looks like a substitute teacher that's had too much crystal methods and drank a bunch of coffee on top of it, and he's bouncing around. So when he's out there, he's talking to me, and he's like, "Hey, man, I got kicked out of this truck stop, I got kicked out of this one, and they're the next city over." And he's like, "Yeah, they ran me out, man. They didn't like me," and and he's telling me that. I was like, "Well, normally people don't run you out unless you're up to something, man. I go here it's dangerous, man. So at least you got some stuff that's in your passenger seat, and I don't need to know anything else that you have. I go, but and you say you're from here, so you should know what you should know about this stuff. And he's like, yeah. And I said, but you need to be alert, man. You need to keep your wits, man. And the stuff that you're doing, dude, I'm not trying to preach to you, man. I'm not judgmental. I'm not a cop. I don't really care, but I will tell you, you don't want to do that stuff, man. You need to. And then when I tell him that, he's like, well, the other night it actually saved my life, man, being on the crystal methods, because if I would have went to sleep that night, I would have froze to death, because I would have slept, and I would have not known to turn my car on, to turn my heat on. So he's like, that saved my life. He's like, so that's the double-edged sword. But when he said that, like, I already knew that there is no talking him out of doing anything, And then he said, he had a degree in psychology and sociology, a little bit, like, not a degree in those, but he took courses on that, and that he was going to be a substance abuse counselor. However, he fell off the wagon, and he showed me some chips he had on his keychain. Then he went ahead and did one of the things I told you about, told everybody on a video, things not to do when you're homeless, I believe. He's like, hey man, if you want to make some money, dude, talk to me. And I was like, dude, I'm not with it, man. I run Uber Eats, and I do DoorDash. I go, a lot of the people here in the cars that were sleeping, they're actually working class, man. Some of the scoundrels, they don't last here for very long, especially if they're trying to run up on people. He's like, no, I'm not talking about robbing anybody. He's like, but if anybody ever needs some cigarettes, I don't have any cigarettes now, but if I had some, I'd give them to him. I was like, dude, I don't smoke, man. And then he started going on about stuff, and I was like, listen, I'm really cold, man. I go, I'm gonna check on my buddy right here. And I was like, I'm gonna check on my buddy right here, because his car don't start. He don't got no gas. And then he was like, wow, I didn't even know anybody was in there, because this car has got ice all over it, dude, on the inside and out. Like, I'm surprised him and his dog were able to make it. So I say that, he gets in his car. I walk over to Rough and It's car, give him a nice little tap. We got a special little knock, and he opens the door. And then the dude, with the addiction problem, he starts pulling forward. He's like, am I okay to come back here later? And I was like, I don't own this truck stop. Yeah, go ahead if you want. But the truth is, I really didn't want him around. But he was very, very paranoid. That kind of stuff does that to somebody. So he rolled out. I'm talking to Roughing It. And I'm like, hey man, I'm glad that you and your dog are okay. Is there has anybody blessed you? Like, can we get your car even running? So now I'm actually inquiring the details. I didn't know how long it had been since he started his car. I didn't know if there was any mechanical issues. I had no idea if his battery was bad, or if his gas was froze or whatever. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I got a gas can in my trunk. He has a battery charger you can plug into the wall, and outside of this truck stop there's several little spots, kind of hidden, that you can plug outside, and as long as it's not raining, he can charge his battery, or I can give him a jump, no big problem. And talking to him, I'm like, hey, if I get some cash tips today, man, I'd like to, I was like, I'm really worried and very concerned, dude. I don't want to come and check on you and see that your dog didn't make it, or you didn't make it. I was like, so, if I get some cash tips, I'll help you out with a couple bucks to make sure, and I'll jump your car, I'll do whatever. I said, if you can get some cash tips, not cash tips, but if anybody is generous towards you and you got that covered, at the very least I can give you a jump. And I used to give him jumps all the time during the summer, in the winter not so much, because no gas money, he just sits around here. So bam, I go ahead and go to do my work thing. I do get blessed that day. I got two different deliveries, and one was a $3 tip, the other one was a $4 tip. So I'm like, okay, I got $7. I show up here. When I show up here, I talk to him, and it's real cold, man. And I tell the guy, I'm like, hey, if you want, I'll walk, because I do not want that gas can in my car and it stink up my car with gas, and I gotta smell it. However, from where he's parked at to where the actual gas pumps are, I'll walk there. So I tell him, like, hey, I see him walk, he's walking his dog. His dog's going potty outside. I say, hey man, it's not a whole lot, but I definitely do want to make sure. I do want to look out, look out for you for a little bit. I just want you and your dog. I was like, I'm terrified that I'm gonna check on her and you guys are not gonna make it, man, and you have nothing going on. So I tell him that, and he's like, yeah, and I'm like, if you want, you don't have to do anything, because he's shivering and he's got freezer burn all over his face. So that's what it looks like to me. His face is redder than I've ever seen before, and I've seen him after this where temperatures are not so crazy. It freezer burned his face where it's red, and it looks like a freezer burn. Like if you leave a steak, in the freezer too long with that frost, and you wipe that frost off, what it looks like, that's exactly what his face looks like. His fingers did turn black. They stopped being so black, but yeah, he got beat up bad from that weather. I am very glad that he's alive and everything else, him and his dog. So I tell him, give me the gas can, and I'll walk it over there. I'll fill it up, and I'll put a couple bucks in there, and if we can get your car started, we'll go ahead and get you parked there, and then I'll go inside and put some money on the gas pump, and we'll pump some more gas in there. And then I go, I know that it's not gonna be the end all be all. I go, but it's gonna give you and your dog a break, especially how tonight's gonna be even colder, or it's gonna be just as cold, So I tell him that stuff, and he's like, all right. And then he's like, man, I can't pop my trunk without taking my battery first. I'm like, can I give you a jump first? And he's like, honestly, I just don't have it in me. I'm like, all right, you don't have it in here, So he says no, and I'm like, man, why would you do that when I'm offering to do all the work for you, dude? You just can sit in your car with you and your dog freezing, pop your hood, and he's saying that the only way that he can pop his trunk is with his dongle, I guess I would call it dongle, but basically his car fob, to use his car fob. Now, my car, I have a car fob to pop my trunk, but I do have a manual button. He claims he doesn't. Does he have one, or does he not? I have no idea. It's not my car, but it does seem suspicious. So nonetheless, what happens is the very next day, it's not as cold as the day before, and I see him in the morning before I go to work, and I said, hey, I still got like $7. There was a cash tip on 2 deliveries. I'd like to be able to help you out. I go, if you can get your gas can out, I'll do all the work, man. And I go, as long as like if it's a gas and a jump, I got you covered, man. And he's like, all right. So I go to work, and when I come back, he said that nope, he never like what he was supposed to do was take unconnect his battery, and he's got a battery charger that plugs into a wall socket. He was going to let that charge, then he was going to go ahead and put that battery back underneath his hood. Then he was going to pop the trunk, pull out his gas can. When he pulls out his gas can, I was supposed to show up from my 8 or 10 hour a day at work, show up. Now that he's got his gas can right there, I grab that, and then I go and walk it to the gas pump. I put some couple bucks in there, and then I walk it back, put that in there, then bring my car over there, and then jump, and then ta-da, success. I show up there, he didn't do any of that stuff. He asks me to give his car a jump. I could have done that the day before, and I could have helped him out in colder weather. It's still cold, but the day before was colder. I connect my battery to it. We don't try to turn it over. He doesn't have enough gas to turn it over. That's what he was claiming. So I go ahead and we put the jumper cables on there. In about 5 minutes, he goes ahead and presses the trunk release on his key fob. Does that, boom, gets that. Wants me to leave my car right there. I'm like, no. I go, I trust you, but the truth is I don't trust anybody. It's not that I don't trust anybody. Anybody could show up at this truck stop. I'm in the hood. I'm not gonna walk away from my car and have my car running. My car stays with me. My car turns off when I get out. You know what I'm saying? My car, when I step out, my car gets the alarm gets set. So I say no, and I go ahead and park my car. Sorry about that transition. Not sure if the camera caught it, but I saw in the rearview mirror somebody walking behind my car. When I saw that shadow, I instantly turned off the camera and checked my surroundings. One of the things I got to do is always keep my head on a swivel. So like camera, I can actually see my rearview mirror. I'm not sure if it not rearview mirror, but through my rearview the rear window, and then I can also see it from right here. And then I have this down, and I got it flipped as another mirror, you know, watch myself. You know what I mean? But long story short, with this particular instance of me helping out roughing it, you know, that's the guy I nicknamed him. Was I'm out there for an hour, you know, charging the battery, got him the gas, finally cranked over, cool. So he had, you know, at that point, that's when I give him a $5 bill. I put like $3 in the gas can, had him a $5 bill, and said, you know, I scraped that ice off on the outside of your car. He's like, I already did that. He's like, this is the ice that's inside, and it was caked up bad. And I'm like, okay. He smells really bad, and he's a nice enough person, really good heart. However, I don't really want to go inside somebody's vehicle like that, you know what I mean? So he went ahead and cleared up the ice, and of course I was like, no, here's $5. I said, you're a grown man, you can do what you want with it. However, I would like for you to get gas. And he ended up doing that, which is good. So only time I ever get him money. But so a lot of people, if you looked at him, you try to judge a book by its cover. Like if you showed me a picture of this guy without knowing him or talking to him, I'd be like, dude, addict, 100%. You know, the person that was a substitute teacher, if I just saw him, you know, like without looking at his eyes really, I would have been like, nah, he looks on the up and up until you talk to him. You know, until you get close, you know what I'm saying? So addiction likes to hide itself in certain ways. Some people look like they you know, they're on one. Some people don't, you know what I mean? And they are. The best way to do it is, you know, judge by your heart and stuff like that. But the addiction out here is not going to get you anywhere, man. You know, it's going to, you know, be a downward spiral. You get caught with that stuff, or doing any of the activities that the addiction will lead you to, it's all jail, you know? And if it's not jail, it's a graveyard, you know. And life is hard enough as it is. You don't need to make it harder on yourself. Some people might think that's a shortcut. Some people might be tempted because they see what their friends go, you know, what their friends do. What they don't tell you, or what you might not notice, is that it's misery, you know. My friends' parents, and you know, my friends that they caught up in addiction, and it, you know, was the hard H, if you know what I'm talking about. You know, H can only, you know, mean certain stuff, and I'm trying to, you know, be sly with it. And then there's the, you know, the C, and then there's, you know, like Tina, and that's what I grew up seeing people do that. And then of course nothing but alcoholics, man. Almost everybody drank. My father was an alcoholic, and I don't even call him my father. He's my mom's husband. He also did, you know, the crystal methods. He was crazy. Abusive. I have you know, videos about that. I recently, yesterday, went ahead and uploaded you know, stuff about my childhood. Didn't really bring him into it. I was bringing other stuff in there, but I do have a video on here that's tragic childhood. This is what I believe I named it, or childhood trauma. That video goes into stuff. It doesn't get pushed by YouTube. However, I like to recommend. I really opened myself up for that, you know, that video, and really poured myself out there. So of course I'm gonna talk about it, and, you know, suggest people watch that. I think it's very important for the videos, for when you follow me, that you hear my whole story. And maybe I don't pour the whole story out in just one video, or video after video with it. You know, you're gonna get some good pieces here, then you're gonna hear some advice on this, and then it's all gonna make sense. It's like controlled chaos. But nonetheless, addiction, yeah, stay away from it. Sorry about that. My throat's getting dry. And I really don't want to be rude and grab my water and start chugging it. But I'm going to go ahead and cut the string and let it fly with this video. If you want to bless me and you want to show me some love, my Cash App is the same as my YouTube, AlienAscend. I ask that you rock with me. If you like my content, please check out my other videos that you might not have watched. I need to bring up my watch time hours. I need about 1,000 of them more before I can apply to get monetized. And I want to thank you so much.